What's going on, everybody? Sean with Triangle of Truth here, and this week we're kind of starting something a little bit different with the Question of the Week series. We're going to expand that into a new thing, and we're going to add our suggestions of the week in here for you guys, and hope that that opens a platform for us to give you suggestions, as well as in the comments below, you guys give us suggestions of things that you'd like to see us read and give a review of here on the channel. With that said, I do have 3 of them for you this week, and we'll be sure to put the covers of these up here on the screen so that it's real easy for you to see what they look like, who writes them, and whatnot, so that you guys can find these things at your local comic shop and take them home to read. These will range from, I've got something from one of the major guys, DC in this case. The other 2 are from some of the smaller companies, because the one thing that I've learned in my short time reading comics is that these smaller companies a lot of times have better stories than the bigger guys, because they're trying to give you something. A lot of these are stories that maybe are 6 to 10 issues at the most long, and so they're giving you a really epic story in that short amount of time. So take that for what you will, but we'll just go from there and see what you think. So the first one I've got out of the gate for you guys is from Valiant Entertainment, and I actually have the omnibus of this and whatnot, but you can either get that or there's the trades of each one of these events is kind of what they are, and that is Divinity. And I do mean Divinity as a whole, 1, 2, and the Stallenverse. This is one of those where Valiant does this. It's one of their big events, and you get to see a majority of their major characters, if not everybody, in one form or another. I won't spoil it for you too much. I will just say that it is about some Russian astronauts, cosmonauts, that go into space and something happens to them. You think that one of them dies and only 2 of them return to Earth, and each one of these is kind of spread around one of the astronauts and some kind of big event. I actually kind of read these backwards. I read the Stallenverse one before I ever read 1 and 2. But after reading those, I bought the omnibus so I could read everything. And I actually encourage, if you can, to find the omnibus, get that, because there is an actual issue 0 that you really can't find in regular comics. So just a little snippet for you guys there. But Valiant is one of the smaller indie companies. They actually did the movie Bloodshot that came out this year. Their universe, they actually have probably one of the biggest universes, if not the biggest universe in comics. And what's amazing about them is all their characters are connected. It is one big connected universe. You don't have alternate Earths, alternate realities and dimensions and whatnot. It is all their characters exist on Earth at one time. So that allows for them to do a lot of crossovers in many interesting ways, this being one of them. So definitely check that out. I really think that if you read that, you will get into Valiant as a whole and see what their character library has to offer you. My next one is from DC. This is one of those where, if you're newer to comics, it's one of those quintessential stories to read, and that is the Blackest Night saga. And one of the reasons why this one is so important is, Geoff Johns from DC is one of the best writers of all time. I mean, no matter what he touches, it's gold. But what Geoff was able to do with the Blackest Night series is he took Green Lantern and the Lantern Corps, and he took it from just kind of being a side to a background character to really making Green Lantern and a forefront character and whatnot. And he also went beyond where before you really just had the Green Lantern and the Yellow Lantern Corps with Sinestro, and he added all these other corps, the corps, sorry, and the Red Lanterns, Blue Lanterns, Indigo Tribe, Black Lanterns, and whatnot. And then down the line you learn about the White Lantern Corps. But he expanded on that whole mythos of everything and brought the Lanterns to the forefront of some of DC's popularity when it comes to comics. So you definitely need to check that one out. It is such a great story. And not only do you have just the main story trade that you can get, there are, I want to say, 6 or 7 other books in it that tie around different things with some of the different cores in general. And so it's a lot to read, but it gives you a whole lot. You know, you learn a lot about Flash, Hal Jordan. You know, you see Superman and Wonder Woman. You see all these different guys. They all eventually at some point can become Lanterns, and you see which cores they go with. And some of them will surprise you. Some of them will be very obvious. But that is definitely a story that you need to read when you get into comics. Just one of those just essential things you got to do. The last one that I have for you guys is maybe not so well known, but when I read there's 4 trades with this. When I read this run, this was probably the most fun I've had so far this year in reading a storyline. It is called I Hate Fairyland. Well, actually, and we did a review of this. Jennifer did a review of this a little while back, and I will put a link down in the description. And let me tell you, it took a while for me to get around to reading this one. I don't know why, but it is utterly hilarious. Skottie Young is mostly known for his artist work, and he's absolutely brilliant, has a style all his own, and it's amazing. But he is so underrated as a writer. He drew and wrote all 4 volumes of this story, and this is one of those Skottie Young stories that you've got to read. And the brief synopsis is it's a little girl named Gertrude that goes into fairyland. They bring her there, and the idea is you're supposed to find a key, and that gets you back out and back home into the real world. This never happens for Gertrude because Gertrude has got a bit of a nasty streak in her. And the way Skottie Young uses adult language in here, where he covers up, you know, your normal cuss words with things like mother fluffer or fluff me and this and that, and it makes you smile. The landscape that he draws in this world is so immersive and colorful, and everything that you would think of when it's like a children's book, but for an adult. And it is just 4 volumes. I laughed, I smiled, I had a great time reading this story, and there's actually quite a bit to it. And this is where you learn that Skottie can really give you a story that will draw you in. It doesn't have to be just with the humor and with the pictures that he gives you. There's a lot of depth to his writing, and that's why for me it's one of those you have to read it if you want to have a good time. And it's something so off the beaten path of what you normally read in comics that it makes it makes it fun, and that's just the word that you can use to describe that. Anyways, that is all I've got for this week, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these and what you think of them. Also, don't forget, comment, give me and the guys here suggestions on what you'd like to see us pick up, read, and review here on the channel. Hope everyone's staying safe. Until next time, catch you later.